Hello, my friend. Today I have a tip for composers who use Notion. The problem we're going to address is the inexpressiveness of the playback of piano music. So if you're like me, you find that very distracting, how the computer has a severely underdeveloped little finger of the right hand. So usually it starts sounding like this. So by default, all the notes that you write have exactly the same intensity. Now I want to show you what is not a good solution. To do this is not a good solution. I mean, it works, but the problem here is that you already added a dynamic marking just for the top voice. And then in the next bar, my intention was for all voices to go to pianissimo, but they don't. The top voice remains at mezzo forte. So you have to add, from now on, since you added the first dynamic marking on top of the staff, now for the rest of the score you're forced to add other dynamic markings to show what you mean. In this case I would prefer this, I guess. So for all the rest of the score, now I have to keep adding two. And if I did that for the bottom note here, then that's another staff that the same thing is happening, and then you have to manage the bottom voice for the rest of the score also. So this results in a lot of dynamic markings which are nonsensical for piano music and which you have to go to attachments, hide, so they won't print out. So this is a bad solution. It's a solution that creates a lot of work for yourself. We can do better, especially if we focus only on the top voice, on the first voice, because that's usually the voice that needs to sing. So I wanted to invent a scheme for that to be the default, and I think I've managed. So here's a demonstration. This bar, as you have heard, is the default. Every note has the same intensity. But here, on the second bar, the first voice will play with one dynamic higher. And when I mark espressivo, it's gonna be two dynamic levels higher. So here's how it sounds. The only note that was affected was the top note for each chord. Okay, so how do I make all this happen? Well, Notion has the rule set feature, which is very powerful. It's the most powerful playback engine. That's why I use Notion, actually. So here you see the entire trick on the screen. These are two rules. The first rule makes voice 1 always a bit louder unless we have with mute consordino on. So this is a good default. And it works by selecting the MIDI channel 1 and then as a consequence applying a dynamic change of 1 plus 1 to it. And then I have also uh, another rule that gets activated by espressivo, and then the dynamic change is +2. So that's what you heard. There's an additional step that I will show you now. This bar, the first bar of your piece, it needs to configure some things. So let's do that together now. You have to press Shift Y to bring the rules dialog, and you have to select that rule set that I just showed you. When you press Use, your cursor changes and you can place it on the score. So this marking here means that for the rest of the score, that rule set is active. Now you remember that in the rules, I was selecting notes by their MIDI channel. So in order to make that happen, you have to press Shift I to bring the instrument dialog on. And then you have to select the staff voice 1 and map it to channel 1. That's not enough, you have to do the same thing again, Shift I, and then map staff voice 2 to channel 2, and preferably do that for all voices, so you can use all of them. Now this does mean that I am using 4 MIDI channels for a single piano, but if you use Contact, you can load only one piano in a single instance of Contact, and you can map it to all of the MIDI channels. So that's not a problem. So this is the setup at the beginning of the score. And just this is all that I had to show you. Just one additional tip. I am sharing my rule sets online. So if you go to github.com, Nando Florestan, Notion rules, this is the project, and it's always being updated. To download the latest version, you should click on the green button, clone or download, and then on download zip. So thanks for watching. I hope this has been useful, and I'll see you in the next tip. Bye bye.